Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Knights, and I, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my stories and correct it as I go. If you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. And if you are looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 104 of The Captain's Heart. Gralgiran sat at an unoccupied medical station, trying to focus on the information on his tablet. He'd tried to work, but when word reached him, the psychologist had joined. When word reached him, the psychologist had joined the doctor while they looked over Bob. He had to come and find out why. Of course, he hadn't learned anything. The room was locked, and his authority ended on this side of it. So he'd sat and did what he could not to think about what had brought the psychologist in. The door opened and she stepped out, looking exhausted. She had her hand up before he was standing. Don't start with the question. Plural. I need to... She glared. Do you have any idea what it's like dealing with a fractured mind? What was done to Jeremy Bradshaw is easier to deal with because it was the only thing that was done, and you interrupted it. It's an insistent voice hiding among his thoughts. She pointed at the door. That's two different people fighting over which one of them is real. And which one is? Neither. She forcefully calmed herself under the stare of the medics. They are both creation of something internal. I don't know if there's anything left of who Bob was before the first time this was done to him, but what I heard was more construct than person. Can you help him? She closed the muzzle on the protest. Let's continue this outside so we don't disturb the medics. Outside, she didn't make it to the first intersection before rounding on him. What are you after, Captain? The information you have to save your heart? The identity of those behind the technology? What? Said much of her state of mind, she didn't get the answer. She didn't get the answer herself, but he still answered her as honestly as he knew how. He wasn't impartial as he wanted, as he'd want. If that information is there, all of it. But, he cut her off, he is a victim, not an aggressor. I don't want that at his expense. So, can you help him? Can you get him back to who he was? She leaned against the wall, rubbing her temple. I don't know. A lot of who he is was incorporated into what was done to him. I'll need more time with him to know if it can be untangled or if what I'll be doing is helping him learn how to manage the two aspects of who he is. Gralgiran nodded, satisfied. I can give you some information, she continued, based on what he remembers and read afterward. What was done to him was to make him a better soldier, one who obeyed, who would follow orders and didn't have to deal with remorse. He said the soldiers revolted. That happened after the second process. I'm going to change that. The last process. The latest and last process. I don't like precision, especially now we're dealing with people. Especially not when dealing with people for whom precision is not their bread and butter. Like, as an example, Tristan in the Monster and Batman is quite precise. That is part of who he is, and I often forget that. But most of the time, I like keeping things because few of us think in precision. So that happened after the latest and last process. He knows less about that one, about what this one was for, but I could see how that went against the previous treatment. Made him and any who I had undergone Made him and any who had undergone it both aware they had been tempered. Wait, what? Made him and who had been aware both? Been tempered with and able to act against both. Against them. But I could see how that went against the previous treatments. Plural. Made him and any who had undergone it both aware they had been tempered with and able to act against them. The reaction must have been based on some of the core personalities of those involved. Being soldiers, violence was the immediate reaction of enough they couldn't be contained. Bob didn't see much of that, but he survived to witness the end and the result and the crash. Wasn't he also a soldier? Why didn't he become violent? Just like while all hunters are thought to fight and will see the front lines, some of them will be more suited to other areas, such as investigation, information gathering, fabrication, teaching. I understand. He received the same training, but his aptitude lent themselves to him being less prone to violence. Yes, I'll do my best to help Bob while he's here, and afterward it will be up to him to continue the work. Does being a mentalist lead to you forming friendship easier? She said to him, you're already using his short name. She shook her head tiredly. He's an Earther. It's easier to deal with him on his own terms, but it's not a shortening of his name. It's the only name he knows. It can be short. Oh, I see what. Shortening of Robert, but he doesn't think that it's the case. He didn't ask how that name shortened to the other. All right, thank you for indulging me, she snorted. It was this or having you hound me until I did. She tilted a near as he opened his muzzle to protest. But I'm sure Bob will be willing to talk with you if you have questions. Just don't be surprised if not all the answers make sense. They made a mess of his mind. Once he too has had time to rest, I'll see if he wants to talk. The doctor was finishing when I left. She'll be able to tell you how Bob is physically. Thank you. She left, and he returned to the medical bay. The doctor glared at him, but didn't order him out. How is your patient? Just as with Terry the Earther, Gralgiran couldn't get himself to refer to him just by that short of a name, and Bob the Earther didn't seem to want to work. He's resting. Considering the condition he lived under, he's in surprisingly good health, at least compared to the few references I have access to. Kelso removed the file I had on Earthers. When I asked, I wasn't authorized to know. When I pushed, I was told there were reasons to doubt the validity of the information provided. I have no idea if they were shoving shit up my nostrils or not, but I've only found a few medical experts on Federation Station who have treated Earthers, so your heart is where most of my data comes from. My patient suffered from a narrow band of vitamin deficiencies, mostly relating to a need for external processes to generate them. Earthers need exposure to specific radiation range he didn't get. Jer? He's been issued supplement to compensate. Once his current situation is resolved, you can see to it you can install a sunlight in your apartment that covers the range he'll need. Once he's arrested, the patient will be able to move about. I'll see him daily to establish a baseline. Thank you. Halfway to his apartment, he received a message from Beta Zarthiel. You are going to want to see this. The usually tidy office Zarthiel occupied now had equipment on every surface, along with 3 other hunters, each with expertise with electronics, but only Netherikna Drugdramar had he interacted with before? No, that doesn't. But he'd only interacted with. There we go. That looks better. Each with expertise with electronics, but he'd only interacted with Atarikna Drugdramar before. These were the most intact version we were able to find, the beta announced. Gralgiran tilted an ear as he looked over the rather damaged items. Some people didn't like these things, she offered as an explanation. They went through basically what Jared has gone through more than once. More than once. I'd be angry too. Me too. Ata, how about you explain what you worked out? Atarikna Drugdramar took the most intact looking one and turned it over, exposing the inside. My first thought, looking at this, was that we're dealing with a previous version of what was used on your heart. A few generations before, one of the hunters said, not looking up from the work he was doing. And that's probably still true because what the scans of that machine show us is more refined than this. But the really interesting part are these. That part of the inside. In what way? She motioned to the rest of the insides. All of this, that's Earther tech. You can tell by how small it is, the other hunter said, studying a compartment under a scanner. Not just that, but it's close enough to the scans we can match them. But these? These are Terhornian technology. What is Terhornian technology doing inside an Earther machine? He leaned in, trying to tell them apart. You should be asking how they can work together, the hunter at the scanner said. Terhornian tech is like its people, crazy. Just because they don't do tech the way we do doesn't make it crazy, Drugdramar replied. But it is impressive how Earthers got the two kinds of tech to work together. Where did they get the technology? He asked. Zophiel shrugged. The Earthers and Terhornians share contested territories. Makes sense they talk and, trade or steal from each other. The hunter said, still not looking up from his work. Or that, the beta said, but that's not the really interesting part. And what is? He asked when they remained silent. We think the whole thing was Terhornian tech. How can that be? Why would a Terhornian have something like this? Are you sure? The how and why we can't answer. It's the Terhornians, so maybe they stole the original designs from another species. There's an entire border they refuse to talk about. Who knows what and who's there? As for the if we're sure, as sure as it's possible to get. She motioned to the hunter, and Atarikna Drugdramar turned the device so Gralgiran could see the insides better. This, she tapped one of the part that was Terhornian, is vital for the working of this thing. The other two can be worked around. Maybe, a hunter said, but this one? No. I take this out and this thing becomes useless. We think that either somewhere on that wreck or in a lab in Earther territory, there is a version of this that contains no Earther tech at all. That this is somewhere along the process of recreating their tech, what their tech does, but only with Earther tech. Why would they use this on their soldiers? They exchanged looks. The hunter finally looked up from the work he was doing. How else are they going to learn if what their changes to it do what they want them to? It created a revolt, he pointed out. Then this probably wasn't what they wanted. Or, based on the psychologist's assessment, because the soldier had already undergone a mind programming process. Why the Earthers did that? Bob the soldier had said something about being a good soldier. If they were willing to use processes like the ultrasonics to make Jar not react to his attraction to male, using such missiles to ensure their soldiers obeyed wasn't that far-fetched. What bothered him was the connection to the Tharnians. Them, with a form of mind-altering technology, was not something he considered good. How much of the ship can be searched? How long can we stay? Zophiel replied. Not indefinitely. We need to be back to patrolling the line so we can meet up with General Gore's injury. As scheduled. Then only so much as that's going to allow. There had been no beacon or signal being sent out, so only they knew where the ship was. They could return. Focus the search on anything linking this to the Tahornians. We'll need as much evidence as we can when we bring it to the Federation. They aren't going to do anything about it, Zophiel said. What people do within their borders isn't the Federation's business. It's what they'll say. This isn't within their territory. But the Earthers are the ones with it. And how did they get it? If it's not supposed to leave Tahornian territories. The Earthers snuck in and stole it from under their ship. One of the hunters offered hesitantly. Even I'm not willing to give them that, Zophiel said. And after what they did to the Alpha's heart, I'm willing to give them a lot. But Tahornians, victim of piracy? They invented the act. The only way I'm willing to accept the Earthers getting their hands on this is if they came across it on a dead ship within their disputed territories, or they traded for it. Both things are problematic. Gralgiran said, trading isn't prohibited, the hunter pointed out. But we show this was full Tahornian tech, Zophiel said, and this isn't just trade. It's one species trading tech designed to alter how people think to a species that has already demonstrated a willingness to do so. I think the Federation will have issues with that. Hopefully, Gralgiran thought. The Federation's end-off approach could be extreme, but if they decided to let this go unchecked, it wouldn't be because he hadn't brought them enough evidence. Make it happen. We'll stay as long as we can. Once Alec's back, he'll be able to tell me how much speed we can get out of the reactor. Better clear the entire section first. Zophiel said, once the engineer starts screaming at you, he can send everyone to medical with burst eardrums. And that concludes Chapter 104 of The Captain's Heart. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter will be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read this story, it is available on Ream Story. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch and YouTube. Links are in the notes. And with that, I shall wish you a good day.